Welcome to Books for Success. Today, we're delving into the wisdom within Why We Eat Too Much by Dr. Andrew Jenkinson. What's inside? Learn your food ABCs from the first people until the modern day. Rebuild your understanding of diet culture and everything wrong with it. You'll learn why you need fat and sugar, reasons to start cooking, how companies destroy food, the components of a healthy body. Subscribe and ring the bell for notifications if you want to keep receiving the knowledge of book summaries about health, wealth, love, psychology, and much more. Don't be shy about dropping your book suggestions for us to summarize. Also, you can use this video as an audiobook summary. Let's grow and succeed together. Discover yourself from the inside. If you're reading this, you're one of many who consider weight loss at some point in their lives. Let's be honest. We're the majority. However, you may also be one of those who actually wonder how we end up being terrified of fat and carbs. In the past, people seemed to care less about what they ate yet never got overweight. How did that happen? The answer lies in several dimensions of human activity. You'll start at the Cro-Magnon caves, watching your first ancestors eating a mammoth, and finish at the labs where professionals play with your food before serving it to you. You'll understand the inner world of human digestion and where everything goes wrong so you can prevent it on your own. Finally, you won't leave without a few whole grain breadcrumbs to lead you out of the junk slump. Take a little snack, you may get hungry on the way. The rules of fat. The food and fashion industries have demonized fat for decades, imposing physical and mental insecurities on the majority. It's no wonder we question its role in the human body. Let's do just that by learning the role of fat. 2 metabology rules. What causes weight gain? For starters, fat plays 3 critical roles in your body. It is light and easy to transport as a body part. Fat insulates the body against temperature drops. It stores large amounts of energy for times of need. For instance, your brain uses glucose from fat storage to function correctly. The latter role also constitutes the first metabology rule. The more you move, the more energy you spend. In other words, you can eat however much you want if you are proportionally active during the day. This rule seems prevalent in dietary culture. On the surface, it makes sense. However, it's not comprehensive, which confuses our idea of nutrition. This misconception is why we should refer to the second rule, the negative feedback system. Simply put, the body is an anxious supervisor who always stays on the safe side. Thirst is an excellent example of the negative feedback system. Your body sends signals to drink to restore homeostasis, your everyday well-being. But being wary of this crisis repeating in the future, it will signal you to drink more than you need. Now, you can apply the same algorithm to your eating. Repetitive diets force your body to prepare for crises and thus save fat to survive. This is yo-yo dieting in a nutshell. However, don't jump to conclusions. Gaining fat doesn't mean you're weak-willed or undisciplined. In fact, your genetics and environment may be the ones to blame. For example, African women who experienced slavery and worked at sugar plantations were heavier as their bodies accumulated fat for childbearing in stressful environments, while consuming cheap sugar increased their weight. Generations later, Black women are still more likely to have curvier bodies compared to other ethnicities. The gene memory has altered their physicality. At the end of the day, it is a specific kind of inheritance from our ancestors. It's all about leptin. Knowledge of food has gained traction relatively recently. As Andrew Jenkinson claims, this field only started to come unstuck around 40 years ago, which is why the obesity mystery has only been revealed today. To unpack it, you'll learn about leptin and ghrelin, how they manage your nutrition, and what does a petrol tank have to do with it. One thing you probably don't know about fat cells is that they produce a hormone leptin. The more fat you have, the more leptin you produce. Leptin signals your hypothalamus, a brain part regulating satiety, to suppress appetite when you have enough fat tissue to survive. It works perfectly in those people we side-eye for having an excellent metabolism. On the other hand, ghrelin is the appetite hormone, signaling the hypothalamus that it's dinner time. Notably, its levels increase in dieters and stay elevated after the diet, which explains the constant hunger and yo-yo effect. After all, Prolonged hunger triggers our body to save resources at the expense of our mental and physical capacity. You will always be tired and apathetic whenever you limit your food intake. Your body is rearranging its reserves to function. But wait, with that logic, when your leptin and fat levels are high, you don't want to eat, right? Then why are there so many obese people who are constantly hungry? That's a valid question, and we'll use the petrol tank analogy to explain this dissonance. Say your leptin is a fuel gauge informing you of the amount of petrol in the tank. But one day, you notice something's wrong. The indicator shows an empty tank, yet your car continues driving as usual. The gauge is broken, and so are your leptin levels. At some point, the amount of fat can grow so much that your brain doesn't register leptin, developing resistance to it. To give you a better understanding, people who consume too much fat and sugary food develop insulin resistance and then possible diabetes. Furthermore, insulin can mute leptin signals to the hypothalamus for this exact reason. As a result, it distorts the picture of actual fat stores, and the brain tells them to eat even more. However, returning to a natural diet can reverse the effects. The irony of evolution. Today, most people from developed countries have access to all kinds of nutrition. The market shelves bend under refined loaves of bread and calcium-induced milk cartons. Yet the cases of heart attack, diabetes, and obesity diseases foreign to our ancestors rise incessantly. To find the answer to this riddle, let's travel back to the first humans. Examine the role of fire, agriculture, and industrialization. Combine this new knowledge to discover the causal links. In the earliest days, every living thing, including humans, shared one-cell organisms, meaning they had equal energy budgets. The reason humankind evolved further was the gut sacrifice, quite literally. Our brain is one of the fattest organs, so our guts have contracted to help it develop. Why the guts? The reason is fire. It's no secret meat and other animal organs were the backbone of Homo erectus people, living before the modern human species. Animal fat was a nutritious staple that guaranteed survival. Fortunately, as the human brain slowly evolved, the simultaneous discovery of fire introduced cooking. Fried meat required less effort to digest, so the human gastrointestinal tract slowly shrank, leaving more energy for the brain. For the same reason, Homo erectus had not developed sharp teeth and stronger jaws, handy for chewing raw meat. The discovery of fire slowly led to migration as humans now had the means to nutritious food anywhere. On the other hand, territories varied in terms of fertility, so early trade developed to compensate for the lack of food variety. Let's fast forward thousands of years to the sprouts of industrialization. Sugar, which used to be available only to the rich, became the latest obsession for average Victorians. Rare in hunter-gatherer times, sugar brought pleasure to dopamine-seeking brains, which is familiar to us. But how do we know this sensation so well? Since around the 195 OS, the rise in heart disease and obesity cases has become evident. Food companies blamed high saturated fats to distract the public from increasing sugar content to prolong shelf life. Soon, they began selling the good, low-saturated fats and vegetable oils from the lab. The latter used chemical cleaning and bleach to keep them fresh. Instead, these oils accommodated cancerogenic trans fats. Good food gone bad. Now that we've padded the belly surface, it's time to go deeper into the gut. Right now, it seems like sugar has framed fat to get away with obesity. However, this crime is too intricate for one culprit, and together we'll investigate. How fat has become an accomplice. The government's involvement. And when sugar turns into a psycho killer. How did the Western diet start? Post-Second World War America saw a surge in heart disease, and you already know the blame was put on fat. The government's response was to release the dietary goals for the United States in 1977. The new menu included two main points. Replacing saturated fats like butter with vegetable oils. Increasing grain consumption. You already know what went wrong with vegetable oils. Besides chemical filtration, they are more flexible for lab manipulations due to their polyunsaturated fatty acid structure. Another essential thing to know is the role of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids present in all vegetable oils. Unable to produce omega-3, the human body obtains it from products like fish or red meat, which, in turn, consume it from green plants. However, the cost of feeding cattle continues to increase, forcing producers to use cheap grains full of omega-6. Humans then consume the meat packed with this fatty acid. Jenkinson compares omega-3 and omega-6 to twins, which is a perfect comparison. Omega-3 is a kind sibling that improves cell permeability and immunity. On the other hand, omega-6, found in seeds, is guilty of increased inflammation and blood clotting. Furthermore, it blocks essential nutrients from entering the cells. As cattle eat cheaper grains, their meat absorbs more omega-6, which travels to the human bloodstream as a meal. As a result, we consume more harmful omega-6 than omega-3 by using vegetable oils. As for grain consumption, the government hadn't considered one crucial thing. Processing techniques regressed concerning a product's quality. Whole grain flour could be stripped of all satiating nutrients, becoming a source of fast carbohydrates that force you to seek another meal an hour after you ate. Therefore, weight gain. A one-way ticket to Healthland. Now that you're informed about the pitfalls of weight regulation, it's time to learn the final lesson: how to manage it so you're healthy and happy. You'll make a few stops on your way to discover life events that trigger weight gain. The rules of healthy dieting. Diets you can try. Everyone experiences life stages where healthy eating isn't an option. Moving to college and living on your own or an inflexible work schedule are good examples. Indeed, some life events can trigger a hormonal response that causes eventual weight gain. Take the college move. Your body reacts to the stress by releasing cortisol, which forces appetite in life-preserving attempts. In marriage, spouses tend to gain weight as their bodies prepare to bear children and protect the tribe. Such instances are natural, yet weight loss can be troublesome because of obtrusive diet culture. In other words, most people don't know healthy alternatives, and the harsh truth is that permanent change doesn't come overnight, no matter how much you want it. If you've never heard of the French paradox, it's how French people consume a fat-intense national cuisine without gaining significant, or any, weight. Most scientists still struggle to find a definite reason, but the truth most likely lies in French kitchens. Cooking with fresh seasonal products means a nutritious diet with minimally processed food. French people don't avoid saturated fat. Instead, they don't snack, so their meals are satiating. In short, make an effort to cook more or less regularly. However, Jenkinson does acknowledge some diets as effective on an individual level. Ketogenic dieting. Intermittent fasting. Vegetarian diets. If you find good sources of omega-3 and avoid refined carbohydrates like wheat. The other two habits you should acquire are good sleep and therapy sessions. Food addictions are underrated sources of distress. If you want to change physically, you must improve mentally. Altogether, these habits let your body know there's no threat, and it stops holding on to the fat buoy. Did you know? Jenkinson argues that any sort of low-sugar or low-fat label means other preservatives are added to reduce fat or sugar. Simply put, no natural product needs preservatives to be healthy. Conclusion. In recent decades, our food consumption has fallen victim to industrialization. Our ancestors didn't need to check the contents of bread and yogurts; they received the fruits of nature. Now that urbanization and capitalism have immobilized our gathering skills, we have no choice but to become food literate. Our body has always been wired to nature and its resources, preserving strength and health. You have learned the fundamentals of the human relationship with nature and food and how to regulate your eating behavior to return to the healthy track. Now that you're equipped, try challenging yourself. Play with your food, but only if it's your kitchen. Try this. Write down simple recipes with your favorite natural ingredients and create a menu for the week. Experiment if you're a more advanced cook. Learn more about mindful eating and see if it works for you. Find a trustworthy therapist to guide you through the physiological and mental changes of dieting. Thanks for being part of our insightful voyage. If our summary piqued your interest, we encourage you to dive into the complete book for a deeper understanding. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content if you're new here, and share it with others who might find it valuable. Keep on reading, discovering, and advancing until our next adventure.